Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Bob Jazokis. I'm principal here at the high school. Welcome to Rising Ninth Graders Info Night. It says parents up there, but I know some of you brought your teens, and I'm very happy for that because it's for parents and the students. Okay, I'm going to introduce who's with me tonight. They're not all here, but most of them are. And when I call out your name, just stand up and give them a wave. So Matt Gerard, assistant principal on the far side. Lisa Jacques, Dean of Student Services. She's at Paris Island at a marine teacher educator camp this week, so she's not joining us. Stephanie Nichols, AP and IB coordinator. She's running testing right now, so we said you don't have to come tonight. She does a lot of testing during May, so she's not here tonight. Kim Noyes, special ed coordinator. Chris O'Hara, Dean of Humanities. Corey Parker, athletic director. He might come running in. He's out at the... Here he is! He was out at the track meet. He walked in. Martha Pond, Dean of Business, Facts, Math, Science, and Technology. Mark Smith, Assistant Principal. He can't make it tonight. And Amy Woods, Dean of Alternative Programs. All right, most of these, I think all of them have some slides tonight they'll be talking to. I'm just going to jump right into it. If you have questions, we're going to save time at the end, so just jot them down on your phone or keep them in your head, and we'll get to all your questions. All right, I'm going to start with three big parts of who we are: the mission statement, the IB mission statement, and the IB learner profile. And I'm starting there because it truly is who we are. So every year around this time, we're hiring new teachers. And if they're making it through the process, at one point they're sitting with me. And if they're with me, I'm probably recommending them to the school board for hire. At the meeting with me, I actually take them through the school mission statement, the IB mission, and the IB learner profile. Because I tell them, this is who we actually are in this building. So I'm going to do the same thing with you because it's really important. It guides everything we do. So I'm going to read right through them. Bedford High School is a community with a passion for learning dedicated to educational excellence for all students and staff. We are committed to high standards and exceeding our comfortable limits. We advance skills, knowledge, critical thinking, and problem solving through a culture of rigor, relevance, relationships, and results. We foster habits of open inquiry and an understanding of our diverse world through a challenging curriculum that creates the connections integral to a nurturing and engaging learning environment. We believe in educating the whole person, so all members of Bedford High School embody respect, responsibility, integrity, and compassion with a unique vision and voice. Through good citizenship and service to others, we strive to make positive contributions to the world. That's been our mission for quite a while. We went through the NEASC accreditation process, and during that, we reevaluate this mission. At that time, we asked staff, students, and parents, should we change anything? And no one told us to change a word, so it's still our mission, and we still live all those words. So that is at the core, at our heart. That's who we are. We're also an International Baccalaureate World School, so we live by this mission too. And I'm going to read right through this one, and you're going to see a lot of connections between our mission and this mission. So the International Baccalaureate aims to develop inquiring, knowledgeable, and caring young people who help to create a better and more peaceful world through intercultural understanding and respect. To this end, the organization works with schools, governments, and international organizations to develop challenging programs of international education and rigorous assessment. And these programs encourage students across the world to become active, compassionate, and lifelong learners who understand that other people, with their differences, can also be right. So those two big, broad umbrellas sort of direct all the work underneath. This one is a little more practical. Those missions don't hang anywhere. We just kind of know them and we live by them. These hang in classrooms because we ask our students to aspire to these things. I'm not going to take you through the definitions of them, but in each classroom, the definitions are there, and we actually give our academic awards based on these. Each department every year gets a different attribute, and they give out their student awards based on if the business department had principled, they look for students that are exhibiting the characteristics of that principled attribute, and that's how they give their awards. So these, I'm going to just go through them again. Inquirers, knowledgeable thinkers, communicators, principled, open-minded, caring, risk-takers, balanced, and reflective. These attributes are what we want you students in the room, and parents of students, we want your kids to exhibit these things as they go through their high school career. So that's the big picture of who we are, those two mission statements and the IB learner profile. Some really practical things here now. These are our graduation requirements. In the top left, it says 24 credits. So to graduate, you need 24 credits at a minimum, and the numbers represent the credits in these areas that you need to get. Starting in the top left, you need a half credit of arts. Lots of ninth graders don't get their art class that they really wanted the first year, but by junior and senior year, when your schedules are opening up, you get those art credits or art courses that you really want to take. But some of you might have lucked out and got the course that you really wanted this year. The portfolio of work is a digital portfolio. It's something that's done in all the classes, and students just collect some artifacts from the work they do, and they house it digitally, and the advisor, who runs advisory, sort of helps them facilitate getting that work in there. So it's not even a course, it just happens naturally through 4 years. You need 4 credits of English. Students will be taking in writing. If you came to our course selection night, you'll be taking in writing and roots of thought. In math, what you need to do before you graduate is take 4 math courses throughout the year, throughout your career, 1 each year. But you need to take Algebra 1 in order to graduate. That's a state standard. You need to take 3 science credits. Most of you will be starting with physical science. 3 social studies. We team teach. If you were here for the night, we talked about courses. English and social studies team teach in Roots of Thought. You'll be taking a wellness class, which is physical education and nutrition. Personal finance, that happens usually junior or senior year. Senior project, that happens senior year. Don't even worry about it. You have advisory. It's similar to what you've experienced at Lurgio. It's a little more robust here, and that happens 4 times a week. Matt is going to talk more about that. And then the electives. As you get older in the years, if you've been to high school, you know this, your schedule opens up. Students in the room, you have a pretty packed schedule next year. Not a lot of choice there, but as you become a sophomore, a junior, and a senior, you get way more room in your schedule to pick those electives and fill those 6.5 credits. Real world learning. I'm going to turn this over to Amy, who oversees real world learning. Push it up. There you go.
Okay. So anyhow, real-world learning is something that we've had since we've been open in 2007, and what it does is try to make sure that our Bulldogs have similar experiences across 5 categories, and they are required for graduation. Right now, I'm about to become extremely unpopular because I'm reminding some of the seniors that although I'm sure they have done all the activities, they just haven't accounted for them in our database. And we do have a database that helps students keep track of these things. But the real-world learning activities are in the following categories. There's career exploration and planning activities. That's 16 hours. As those would imply, those are, thinking about going to, post-secondary education. If students are looking at applying for jobs, if they are looking at any of the meetings they have with their counselors, any of those things that kind of keep them going in the direction of what happens after high school. Community involvement and service, so kids will just shorthand that to community service. We have 16 hours there. Democracy and action activities, that's 8 hours. Cultural enrichment, these would be things like going to museums or anything that broadens their experiences across a more cultural landscape. And then school activities, it says 8 hours in 1 co-curricular or athletic activity each year for a total of 32 hours. That is the only one that we keep track of each year. The other 4 are cumulative over time, but we want to make sure that, if you are a Bedford High School Bulldog, you find a place that is not necessarily exclusively academic, and it can be a club. We've got over 90 of them, and obviously we have a really robust athletic program, and those would be over the course of 4 years, 80 hours, graduation requirements. And again, rising ninth graders, I think this is a question that comes up frequently. We can start tabulating for this year's 8th graders. As soon as summer starts, they can start keeping track of those hours as of June of 2022. Maybe you took a trip when they were in 6th grade, 7th grade, those can't count, but starting at the end of 8th grade over that summer, that's when students can start accumulating those hours. The advisor is integral in this whole process as far as we have a 3-step process. The students do the activity, The advisors verify that those have been done, and we have a process where students will talk about what they've done in advisory, and it not only allows the advisor to kind of keep track as far as how well students are doing in terms of completing these hours, but it also lets other students hear what's possible. What are kids doing? And what are maybe some ideas that they're like, oh, I hadn't thought of that. Maybe I'll go to the Courier. I've never been. Any of those things kind of try to help build that understanding of what they're doing. And then school activities and summer school, there are things that happen. In a little bit, we'll talk about base camp. When students engage in those kinds of things, that even though they're connected to the school, they are certainly eligible to get real-world learning credit for those. And now, Mr. Gerard is going to discuss advisory.
Hello. Oh, hello, everyone. I'm going to go back real quick. So I'm going to ask a question. Are any 8th grade students out here know what advisory is? Anybody want to share on what they think it is? Maybe? Anyone? Go ahead. Okay. All right, that's pretty good. For me, I've been here since the beginning, since the school opened, so I've been here since 2007, and to me, advisory is the core. It's the heart and soul of Bedford High School. This is where, when it comes to our purpose, all right, of what advisory is, all right, it is equated to, if you think back in the day, think of homeroom times 1,000, all right, because it's not just showing up to take attendance. There's a whole mission and purpose behind what we do, all right, in advisory. So I'm just going to read real quick what our emphasis is, all right, and what the purpose is. So educating a whole person, so all members of Bedford High School embody respect, responsibility, integrity, and compassion with a unique vision and voice. Through good citizenship and service to others, we strive to make positive contributions to the world. So how do we do it? How do we organize this? How is it structured? It's structured in small groups. So when you come in next year as a student, all right, you are going to be assigned an advisory. And in the advisory, you will have an advisor. And that advisor is going to follow you for the whole 4 years you are here. All right, so if you have a teacher named Mr. Chizovsky, all right, he is going to be your advisor freshman year. He will carry you through sophomore, junior, and see you through graduation in senior year. Now, the only way that that wouldn't be the case is if, an advisor left over the course of the 4 years. All right, then you would get a new advisor, but for the most part, it will carry through for the 4 years. How long is it? As of right now, it's 20 minutes. All right, and it's going to happen for 9th graders, all right, during what we call Advisory A. All right, so after first block of the day, we'll talk about the schedule later, but after first block of the day, there will be a 20-minute Advisory A. That is when 9th and 10th graders meet with their advisors. All right, so at that point, those 4 days, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, are going to be places where we're going to foster those relationships, not only with the advisor, all right, but with all other people, all other students inside of that advisory. So some things that might happen are in the advisory: portfolio of work, real-world learning. Those will be checkpoints, all right, for students. So it's not going to be something that they're going to have to monitor by themselves. The advisor will help them through it. All right, they'll do periodic checks of, did everybody put in their real-world learning hours yet? Have we turned on the lights for the portfolio of work yet? And those are things that the advisor is going to help each student, especially during freshman year, to keep track of. We have a web page. All right, on our Bedford High School page, there's one devoted to actual advisory. So you as parents and students can go on this page, all right, and you can see the purpose of it, some things that we try to foster and build and support within advisory. And a cool thing about what's on this page is down at the bottom, if it goes all the way down, you go all the way down, there's a curriculum. All right, you can actually click on that curriculum. A document will come up and it will show you, all right, exactly what the advisor will probably be doing. These are the expectations that we have for all advisors to be doing. So, in August and September, you can see a lot of things about introductions, doing things within the advisory that's fostering those relationships, trying to get to know you type of stuff. And then as the school year progresses, all right, you'll see some more things that'll happen, like Spirit Weeks and parent-teacher student conferences. All right, so there'll be some reminders within advisory that happen throughout the year about the good things that are happening within the school too. So that's open for everybody to see. So if parents want to jump on there and see what their son or daughter might be learning about in advisory, it's all right here on the webpage. Oh, you got to get out of that. Sorry. And competency.
So just as Lergio has competencies, we have competencies at the high school. There are 5 overarching competencies, and you can see them up here. The first 3, skills and knowledge, problem solving, and communication, those are taught, assessed, and graded. So we refer to those as our academic competencies, and then we also have self-management and collaboration, which are referred to as our civic and social competencies. We actually report out on those as well, but the top 3 are the 3 that are graded in every course. Each class will have 2 to 4 competencies. Some classes will only have 2. That's common actually sometimes in a semester class. In a humanities class, because it's English and social studies, I think those all have 4 competencies. A couple actually at the junior level have 3. But you'll see anywhere from 2 to 4 competencies in each class. And every assignment that students do in a class will be tied to 1 or more of those top 3 competencies. And so if you don't know this already, our minimum passing grade for a course at Bedford High School is a 70. So I know some of us may have gone to schools with D's. We don't have D's, so a 70 is a C minus. And then a 69 and below is failing. In order for students to pass a course, they have to achieve a 70 in each competency tied to that course. We review competencies every single year in this building. So at the end of the school year, we have time where teachers actually will sit with us as admin team, and we talk to them about the competencies tied to their course. Are they still the right competencies? Are they relevant? Are the percentages accurate? Do you feel like it's what they need to be? And so basically what we say to teachers and to students is competencies represent the skills and knowledge that are fundamental to the course and the things kids need to know and be able to do in order to move on to the next level. And so that's kind of how we package them. And so it is important that students actually pass each of those competencies before they move on, because that's what sets them up for success the following year. So you can see here what might happen if a student doesn't pass one of those competencies. So a student can get an outright F in a course, and that just means the overall average is 69 or below. They can also achieve what's called an NCY. And so I'm giving you the example of in writing, because all freshmen will take in writing. And we have 3 competencies. One is process, one is conventions, one is communication. So we want to make sure students understand the writing process. How do I draft? How do I brainstorm? How do I outline? What does it mean to revise and edit? What does it mean to get something, publishing? So that's basically the process. Can they take it from beginning to end? Conventions competency, that's basically grammar and formatting. So grammar falls under there, but MLA formatting also falls under conventions. And then communication is audience and purpose. When students are writing an argumentative essay, it might be very different than a letter they might be writing to the school board to address an issue, right? And so we just talk to them about formal voice and informal voice, and what are the different types of writing that students need to be able to do well. This course in general is to set kids up for success for the kind of writing that they're going to have to do through 4 years of high school, which is why it's a requirement for all freshmen to take it. And so in those 3 competencies, if a student gets a 65, 75, and a 70, if we average those together, it would come out to a 70%, which would be a passing grade. But if the student actually had those grades in those 3 competencies, they would get what's called an NCY, which means you're not competent yet, even though you have a 70. Because the problem is you only have a 65 in process. And so what that tells us, what's really good about this is it tells me a kid who's taking that course, what's the area where the kid is struggling? And here it might be process, right? It would be process in this situation. And so that teacher will work with that student on just that competency to get them to the point where they have a 70 in process as well. And then that NCY goes away. Okay, so NCY actually can be cleaned up. And Martha's going to talk a little bit about what this looks like in Power School.
There we go. So this is a snapshot of what you would see on the portal, on the Power School portal, for example. And so quarter one, quarter two, quarter three, quarter four, and then Y5, which is the year grade. And these are typical ninth grade classes. And so I picked some things just to show you. So on the bottom right-hand corner is what an NCY looks like. So you see in this case, for this student in French 2, they have an 84 average for the course, but they're an NCY, which means, and I'm not familiar with the French competencies, but one of the competencies is below a 70. So once that competency is raised, then that NCY goes away, and the average is the 84. If you also look, let's look at wellness, you can see that that final grade is not an average of the 4 quarters. So competencies are weighted. I'm trying not to get too deep into the weeds here. When you live this, and the teachers will talk to kids about what that means, but you know, even if there's only 2 competencies in the course, they're unlikely to be 50% each. One might be 60%, one might be 40%. So it depends on the points in each competency what that overall Y5 grade is. The Y5 is a rolling grade, and that's the one we tell parents to pay attention to, we tell kids to pay attention to. The quarter grades are snapshots, you know, around Halloween, this is what your grade was for that period of time. For the next 9 weeks, around the middle of January, this is what your grade was. In reality, the only place that's truly relevant is for athletics, which Corey will talk about later. But as far as reporting out, when you go to apply for whatever the next thing is going to be after Bedford High School, the only thing that shows up is the Y5 grade. They don't see quarter grades. We don't report those out. But that Y5 grade is the rolling grade for the course of the year, and that's what we keep track of. That's the only place you would see the NCY. And so what happens if you are NCY? Like, we're not trying to scare you here. What happens if you're not competent? Because the whole point of learning is you learn, and you know, if we all started and everybody had 100 and everything, then what's the point? And let's just move on to the next course. So what happens if you're not there? We do something called competency instruction. And that's individualized instruction for students who are struggling in a particular area. We offer it, teachers offer it during the course of the quarter in where it makes the most sense for that curriculum. In some cases, it will happen after a check-in where it's clear that some students, a few students are struggling in a topic. The teacher will keep those students for a short period of time and work with just those students and dismiss the others. It could happen as before a large assessment. It could happen in little bits and pieces over the course of the quarter. It's individual, and it depends on what the course is when competency instruction takes place. So we talk to kids about earning the ticket, and we actually use those words, and your students may say that to you. You know, the teacher says, I need to earn the ticket. And what that means is they are doing their part to become competent. They are committed to giving their best. They're going for extra help before school, after school, during a managed time. They're working with a teacher. They've made up work that they might have missed. Even if they don't get grades for it because it's too late to get graded on it, they've still made that work up. That gives them the opportunity to demonstrate their competency in that way. And so teachers will work with individual students and say to them, this is what you need to do in order to earn the ticket to demonstrate that competency. And then finally, you know, our goal is everybody's competent, everybody's passing by the end of the year. But if in June you are not passing a core course, you are either NCY or failing a core course, we do offer summer school. We're not thinking that far ahead right now, but we do offer a competency recovery week if you're NCY in one of the competencies, or a full 4-week summer school program for students who have not earned credit in a core course.
Levels at high school. You may have heard of some of these, but I'm going to just take you through. So we have different levels of courses. I'm going to just go through each one. There's foundational courses, that is prior to the next bullet, AB courses. These are students who are not at grade level yet. They're foundational courses that start to get them and build them up towards grade level. And they exist in math and science. AB courses are called that because they do two things. They're either double the amount of time or they have double the amount of teachers. And we do that because some students, to get to those competencies, just need more time with the material. And if we're already giving them as much time as we can, like the humanities classes that meet every day, we put some more staff in there to help support those teachers. So there's AB courses. Then there's post-secondary prep, PSP, and sometimes you'll just hear students refer to those as biology. It's actually biology PSP, but students tend to drop the PSP and just say biology. So there's not another level in there. It is the PSP level, but you'll hear students just call it by its course name. Then there are honors and IB classes, international baccalaureate classes, and we also have advanced placement. So those are all the different level courses. And as you know, there are not a lot of roadblocks to those. You have a lot of choice. When the light bulb goes on, you are passionate about something, students can step into those different levels at different times. Some have prerequisites, that's true, because you need the foundations to get to that next level. But we tried, when we built the school, we tried very hard not to put a lot of roadblocks and things attached over here. You have to do well over here to do this over here. When students are passionate about something, we want them to try to jump into that and take the leap. There's 4 myths. You might be the last audience that gets these myths. But when I became principal, there were things out there in the community that weren't true. And so I've been doing these myth busters, and I just got to take you through some of them. One myth is we need either AP or IB. That's the myth. And we need both AP and IB because they're good for students and they serve different purposes. AP courses, and you may be familiar with these, AP courses are college level courses that are taught here at high school. Okay, college level taught here. IB are courses that are high school courses that get you ready for college. So they serve very different purposes. And I need them both here because I have students that need them both. Myth 2, IB only serves the IB diploma students. That's not true. Over 90% of our seniors apply to college and about 90% typically go. A primary goal is to prepare students for college. IB's primary goal, as I just mentioned. And that's the purpose of IB. So I have students that are going off to college, lots of them. And IB serves all those students, not just this group that does this thing called the diploma. You don't even need to think about the diploma program right now. Just know that we're an IB World School. Every student in this school is an IB student because we vertically align everything we do with IB. Right now we have 36 IB courses. There are 1,674 enrollments. That means seats, right? And then the individuals who make up those enrollments are 594 students right now. There's 594 students that take at least one class. The diploma, right this year, I'm guessing, am I in the 40s? That's what I was going to say. There's probably 40 students that take this thing called the diploma. They just take all IB courses. But those 594 are taking honors courses, PSP courses, AP courses, IB courses. So IB is for everybody. Yeah, and I mentioned everything's vertically aligned because I never know when that passion's going to come on, right? A student who's taking science and then all of a sudden loves science, Martha, and they want to take an IB course in science, I have to get them ready for it the second they're in this building because I never know when that light bulb is going to just go click. And so right away in 9th grade, we are vertically aligning the skill set basically and using some of the same language that you hear in IB courses. So we're doing that in 9th grade, so all students are prepared whenever they get really jazzed up about something. Third myth, there are no honors level classes for the 11th and 12th grade. That's a myth. There are. IB classes are the 11th and 12th grade honors level classes by design. So I was here when we opened the school, and by design, we said we don't need honors and IB at 11th and 12th grade. IB is an 11th and 12th grade program because they're doing the same thing. It would be crazy to have 2 classes that do the same thing. So the honors distinction went away, and we have IB classes. IB and AP courses are weighted the same as honors classes. And if you look at this graphic, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, you can see the levels I mentioned earlier. If you look at the bottom blue, we have honors classes for 9th and 10th grade, and then you'll see IB or AP classes at 11th and 12th grade. It's the same level. but the name changes a little bit because in 11th and 12th grade, we do have the IB program. So there are honors classes for 11th and 12th grade. Last one, the IB diploma in the Common App for college. There's this myth. On the Common App, this question is there. It says, there's a box for our counselors, and it says, has this student taken the most rigorous course of study available? Our school counselors check that box whenever a student has taken any combination of honors, AP, IB, any combination of that. The myth is you had to take IB courses to get that box checked. Not true. You're taking any of those rigorous courses, honors, AP, IB, you get that box checked. I think those are all the myths. Yes, Mr. Girard.
All right, I'm back. So daily schedule, not sure why this is a hot topic, but I'm just going to introduce the schedule to the students because it's important to understand that we are on a 2-day rotating schedule. All right, so if we start on a Monday and it's a red day, Tuesday will be silver, Wednesday will be red, Thursday silver, Friday red. And that will move through the entire year. It will never change. So you can tell on October of this fall, when the schedule first comes out, you'll be able to know in August when the red days and silver days are in October, and in January, and in April, the whole entire year, because that rotating schedule will never change. We have a few exceptions that might happen in regards to that, but most of the time the concrete will stay as a foundation for red and silver the entire year. The schedule itself, 4 blocks, each day. We have 2 advisories, advisory A and advisory B, built in each day. And there's also a 30-minute lunch, built in during that 3rd block. So depending on what class you have, I can give an example, like if you have wellness class, 3rd block, then your lunch, typically every single year since we've been open, has been 4th block. So you would go to 3rd block wellness, have wellness all the way up until 12:42, and then at 12:42 you would go to lunch, and after lunch you would move on to 4th block. So you might have A lunch, you could have B lunch, C lunch, or D lunch, depending on what class you have during that block. So I'll give another example. You may have a math class has B lunch. So you would, C lunch, okay. So it's C lunch. So you would go to math for A lunch, B lunch, you would be in math for that hour. And then you would go to lunch, and then you would come back to math. So depending on the class, some classes are actually broken up, during that. It is possible that will happen, depending on what course it is. You could have a managed time. Most freshmen will have, or 9th graders will have a managed time built in there, at least 1. So wherever that managed time is, some have 2, very rare to see 3, at this level. But wherever it may lie, I'm going to talk real quick about what managed time is. So what is managed time? If we think 1985, we think study hall. We think sitting in those terrible, wooden, uncomfortable chairs with that desk in front of us for 30 minutes, don't say a word, or else you're going to get thrown out of study hall. That's not what our managed time is. We have managed time in our schedule so that students can create time and opportunity for themselves to get work done. When it comes to managed time, we have 3 spots where kids can be. They can be in our library, which is, for the most part, a fairly quiet place. So it might be filled with kids, but it's going to be quiet. Bulldog Corner, which is right out here in this area, kids can sit on benches. They can sit on the ground, which is fine if they feel it's comfortable. I tell kids all the time, I can't believe you're sitting here. That can't be very comfortable for you, but they like it. They like the area. They kind of like the atmosphere. Or the 3rd place they can be during managed time is down in the commons. And in the commons, it's a lot less structured. We have a teacher in there as a monitor. So there is somebody in there, but that's the time if you want to do homework, you can do it there. If you want to play a game on your phone, you can do that. We empower you as a student to manage your time, which is why we call it managed time. So we don't have structure for you. We don't have academics for you to do. We don't hand you something you have to do. That is up to you, is how you manage that time within those areas. One thing that you see, that second to last bullet, you can lose managed time. Now you can. All right, even ninth graders can lose managed time. How do you do that? One could be behavior. All right, it means that you're in places you're not supposed to be, you're causing disruptions in the hallways. The other way that you can lose managed time is at the end of a quarter. If you are failing 2 or more classes, all right, then you are placed in actual study hall, like in 1985. All right, you're going to go to a classroom, you're going to sit silently, and you're going to work on the work you need to because we needed to intervene as a school. You academically need help. All right, you need to take that time to work on those academics so you cannot have any failing classes, and that's how we do it. All right, we put students in study hall, all right, and take away that managed time. Now they can get it back, you can earn it back. All right, by the next quarter, all right, in that next quarter, if you're only failing 1 class or you're not failing any classes, you get your managed time back. So you can earn it back, but it also can be taken away. That last bullet right there, that is reserved. That is a caveat, all right, to being a junior and a senior. That is a reward, all right, and that's early release and late arrival. That does not apply to 9th and 10th graders, all right, at all. All right, so you cannot, arrive late after first block if you have managed time. You can't leave 4th block if you have managed time. Those are not gifted to 9th and 10th graders. All right, you have to be here in the building, all 4 periods, obviously unless dismissed by your parents. Cell phones. These are a hot topic. These are going to be a hot topic for the next 100 years. All right, these are, cell phones. At least once or twice a day, I'm dealing with cell phone, all right, issue. Whether it's, could be somebody, pulling it out in class when they're not supposed to, disruption, it could be a myriad of different reasons. But it's your cell phone. You need to be responsible for it. You need to use it properly. All right? We don't want it to be used in class, all right, unless a teacher tells you you can take out your phone. If you're doing quiet work and a teacher says, yeah, you go ahead, take out your phone, listen to music. That's great. All right, they told you you could do that. But it's not an opportunity for you to take it out in the middle of a lecture, text your friends, Snapchat your friends, post on Facebook or Twitter, whatever it might be. That's not the time for that. All right, the time for that is managed time. All right, on your own time, all right, is when to use that cell phone. There are times when cell phone obviously is something that we want here in school, and we want kids to use them. We want them to be used in emergency situations. If you need to call your son or daughter and tell them about, being picked up after school, sending them a text message or knowing their schedule and calling them on managed time, all right, is very helpful, all right, and not try and call them in class, to disrupt class. There's another quick study right here. If you look at the University of Arkansas study, found that the students who brought cell phones with them to classes and exams scored a full letter grade lower, all right, than those who left phones back in their dorm. All right, so think about it this way. If you get into class, there's a pretty good chance you don't need your cell phone. So put it in the pocket, put it in your bag, put it away. There's a pretty good chance you're not going to need it. All right, so if you're not worrying about your cell phone, then you can concentrate on academics. Or you can concentrate on your grades. You'll be able to use your cell phone at different times during the day, in advisory possibly, all right, and during your managed time. Becoming young adults. That's what we're trying to get all students, all right, in the 9th grade to do. Put 8th grade behind you. We are giving you a lot of responsibility in this school. All right, we want you to take control of what you're doing in here, all right, but it has to start with you making good, positive, all right, the right decisions, all right, here within school. One thing that we empower you to do, all right, is to engage with your teachers. All right, you can read some of this stuff up there, but engaging with your teachers might be something different for you. All right, asking them for extra help. Being the first person, all right, to talk to them about improving grade. All right, talking to them about, a test score. All right, could be in the past where you might not be the first person. It may have been your parents who sent an email and said, hey, what happened with this? How can my son or daughter, improve their grade in your class? That, at the high school level, we want that to be you, all right, as students. We want you, all right, to go to your teacher, all right, and ask them that first. All right, we don't want that to come from your parents. All right, we want you to be able to communicate that. all right, with your teachers. All right, going for extra help, using school email, self-advocacy, all right, all of those things, all right, obviously is going to help you become, all right, a young adult much faster. All right, and that starts next year in the 9th grade. And the last one, this one, hot topics from school. I'm in charge of alphabet letters L to Z. The other assistant principal does A to K, but we both cover absences, all right, here in school. We have an attendance line, all right, a phone number that you can call and call in your absence. That's checked every single day, all right, by our attendance clerks. There's also email, all right, you can email an absence in, all right, every day, and that's checked by our clerks. The thing that might happen is if you forget to call in an absence, there's a pretty good chance you're going to get an email from me or you're going to get a phone call. All right, that's going to say, hey, yesterday Joe was marked absent from school all day. Did you forget to call it in? After once or twice of that happening, it usually doesn't happen again because the parent will remember, oh, I got to call the line. I got to email the line. All right, because that's the only way that we can track attendance properly and keep an accurate record. Because when a student gets marked absent unexcused, if you see AU in Power School, that means that there was no note, no phone call, all right, which means we treat that as a student has skipped the class. So if it says AU in there and a teacher sees that and says, well, on Monday you were marked AU, you can't make up work, all right, which means you would get a 0 on a test, you'd get a 0 on whatever happened in class. So in order to fix that, all right, we have to go through other channels, send an email, call home just to make sure that that absence, all right, is excused. All right, and we can turn that over from an AU. And special education.
Okay, so we have, we're always hitting somewhere around 200 students who are identified as having a need for an individual ed plan, an IEP. And so throughout the high school, we have various programs to support kids' needs. So I'm going to go through the different programs. I'm going to talk a little bit about the shift from support services in the middle school and younger up to the high school ages. And then also some new service delivery we're working on getting in place. So you might hear some new language next year. So first we have students who are in what's called a grade level skills class. You hear them say skills 9 or skills 10. They'll have a case manager with them for 9th grade and 10th grade. And then they'll have a different case manager with them for 11th and 12th grade. So 9th and 10th grade skills classes are going to be focused on your students' IEP goals. They're going to really be focused on helping students transition to high school level academics, high school level executive functioning, high school level independence. So we're teaching them how to take ownership of their needs, how to take ownership of their advocacy, and how to have communication with their educators throughout their time with us. When they hit the 11th and 12th grade, if they're still with us in a skills program, they're going to focus a lot more on their transition to young adulthood. So sometimes that means getting them ready for their next steps in college and understanding what their needs are, understanding how to advocate for those needs at the college level, what that looks like at the college level, because we don't have IEPs in college, but we do have support services throughout various colleges. Our junior and senior case managers are pretty well connected to our area colleges and have reached out to students who have already experienced college level supports. So we're getting that feedback constantly. That trickles us down to the 9th and 10th grade. We know what kids need for 11th and 12th grade to be ready to move on to either college readiness or career planning. And so 9th and 10th grade is focused really on giving them that foundational level skill and support. I'm going to come back to Learning Labs in just a minute. We have 3 specialized programs. One you'll hear called Skills SP, or Skills Social Pragmatics. So typically, students who are part of that program are students who are either experiencing high-functioning autism or language-based learning challenges, nuances of high school like relationships and advocacy. Typically, kids are grade level abilities academically are seeking a diploma. They'll have one case manager. We have multiple support staff throughout, and that case manager will go with them 9th through 12th grade. We have a program called Bridges. This is a program for students who need support in emotional behavioral regulation. So sometimes this is mental health supports, sometimes this is life circumstances, sometimes it's an acute and chronic challenge that they're learning how to navigate as they become a young adult. Sometimes it's just something they really need a nice wraparound approach to get them back on their feet and move them along. This has two case managers who are emotional behavioral certified, and we also have a licensed mental health counselor attached to the program who consults and who also provides direct mental health service if needed. And then what we call our RISE program, these are for students who are seeking a diploma. Their path may look a little bit different towards that diploma. Their timeline might look a little different towards that diploma, but they are achieving credit in either AB foundations or PSP level courses. And sometimes, like Mr. Jizoka said, they'll have a high interest area where they're going to challenge themselves. But their path and their supports might look a little bit more intensive than a typical skills classroom. We have our two programs that have more intensive needs support, our Life Skills Enrichment Program and our New England Center for Children Satellite Program. So typically these are programs for kids who are working towards work readiness, vocational readiness, who are looking towards becoming independent adults. And so their program and their path are incredibly individualized, and what they are engaged in terms of coursework and community-based supports is individualized for them. They have a case manager or two and various service providers that contribute to that program. We have unified programs and unified athletics. And so often students in that program are also involved with those courses and developing partnerships. We are working on getting a Best Buddies chapter in the high school in the coming years. Okay, so the biggest difference you'll notice if you have a student who has an IEP at the high school is we are working on getting them to run their own meetings by the time they graduate. They are going to go off into either the work setting or the college setting where they really need to understand their own needs and how to advocate for them. So we are pushing them and challenging them to do that while they are here with the support team that they have. So you're going to notice as you're sitting in your IEP meetings, your student is invited and they're expected to be there. They often have like all of a sudden an interest in their math class because they don't want to be at their IEP meeting, but we're going to encourage them to come. We need them to learn the process. We need them to learn what their needs are and how to get them met. We need them to be able to speak to their parents about what it is that they're looking for their future and how to access that. You will notice if your student stays with us in the IEP programs through all 4 years that they will really truly be taking ownership, and by the end of their senior year they are essentially writing that IEP with their case manager's support, versus as a freshman we're writing it with their engagement and their support. You're going to see that slowly shift over time. So the newest piece for skills that I'll run through real quick, because you might hear your student talk about learning labs. So we're starting a bit of a pilot this year and hoping to transition that into next year, where the first 20 to 30 minutes of a skills class, your student they have a specific need, like they need more math instruction or they need more writing instruction. They're going to have small group learning within their skills class. So they may be assigned a case manager. They have their 9th grade skills class where they're getting their academic support, and then they may shift to a case manager who has a specialty in math. If they're in physical science, then their learning lab may be math for physical science. We have a case manager who co-teaches physical science. He is an expert in what the math needs are in that class and where some of the snags may be for some of the kids in those classes. So he teaches that lab. And so he does a quick 20-minute tutorial, deep skill-based learning, and then sends them back to their case manager for the rest of their lab, the rest of their skills class. We are working towards getting that to be a more fluid system. And so your feedback is welcomed, but know that you will hear your students say, oh, I had to do math lab. That's within their skills class, and that is very intentful. Skills classes and our specialized programs are all credit bearing. So students have to go to their skills and their resource room. They can fail skills classes. It is rare, but it is possible. If they are choosing not to engage in their services, if they are choosing not to participate in their IEP process, then they will not pass the course. And it is an elective credit. So in order to stay on track with their credit accrual, they need to be able to be engaged in the IEP process throughout the high school years. We have a parent night scheduled May 25th, 6:30, over in the library. We will have Mr. Joyce put this in his parent emails as well, but this is a nice time for you to meet and greet. We're going to have 9th grade case managers and our program case managers, where you will have a chance to have a more intimate setting to be able to ask more specific and individualized questions. Your students are absolutely welcome. You'll get a tour of what a typical skills classroom looks like. You will meet the 9th grade case manager, who is very likely your student's case manager, and you can ask how does this transition work for your specific student and your specific program. Okay, so Lisa Jacks is not here, so we'll go through her school counselors. So every one of your students is going to be assigned a counselor. When they receive their schedule, their counselor will be at the top of the schedule, so you'll see who it is. This is how the alphabet breaks down for our rising 9th graders. They will follow with them for the 4 years. So some of the things that happen in the school counseling office, they obviously do schedules and guidance for course selection. They work through the college application process and provide consult, provide information. They help them work through our softwares and our programs to help students identify what might be really nice, strong fits for them for their college processes and application processes. But they also do some really great things in terms of curriculum. So they're working with their wellness classes, they're working with their humanities classes, and they're jumping in to do mini lessons for different areas of need. So sometimes it's to talk about mental health, sometimes it's to talk about college readiness and what that looks like. And they're getting into classrooms to become familiar with students and have students become familiar with them. They're always wanting students to come down and check out the counseling office, become comfortable with that space, and being a part of their classroom and their classroom curriculum helps them do that. We have an on-call counselor program, so at any given time, if your student is experiencing a need, whether it be a crisis, whether it be a friendship challenge that they're trying to work through, they have to navigate a conversation with a teacher, a parent conversation, they're just feeling overwhelmed, or they have some really exciting news that they just need to figure out what to do with it, they can come down to the counseling office, and the counseling secretary will identify who is on call at that moment, and that's who they'll access. Sometimes it's their own counselor, but not always. And so if it's not, the counselor will help them process whatever it is that they need to process. We'll relay that information to their counselor and or family if necessary and appropriate, and then help them work through how to get back to class if possible. All of our school counselors are also 504 coordinators. So if your student is coming to us next year with a 504 plan, your school counselor is the author and the monitor of that plan. So they will be your first go-to. If you are feeling concerned or feeling like it needs to be altered or feeling like maybe they can work their way out of a 504 plan, that school counselor is going to be your first person to communicate with. What else? Every single year, your student will have an individualized meeting. So freshman year, they're going to be talking about kind of get to know you, get to understand what it is you're looking for out of high school, and help them become familiar with each other. Then sophomore, junior, and senior year, there's a very specific and focused area of content for that meeting, so that they will continue. Again, they're with them for the 4 years, so to be able to maintain that relationship, and by the time they're seniors, their counselor's writing them a college recommendation letter or whatever they may need for whatever their next steps are. They know them really well. They've already had those real specific conversations together. I think we're good.
And so, just to talk about the scheduling calendar, this is not necessarily as applicable for 8th into 9th grade. However, as we move forward, usually that last week of classes, students and parents will have access to schedules. So the 8th graders who are turning into 9th graders, they will be able to see what their classes are and what they got. The 6th through the 10th schedule changes can be requested. You will receive an email with the schedule change guidelines and procedures. In early August, that's when we start to welcome our brand new students, so not students who are currently residents, but students who move, students who transfer. That will happen then. And August 25th, that is the first day of school, dropped courses will be recorded. So when students get their schedules in June, it's important that if there is something that we have missed, if there's a hole or if there's any shifting that happens, those will be during those days between the 6th and the 10th. And then, again, on the August 25th, if there are changes, those will be recorded. And then on the third day of both semesters, students can add courses where they have managed time. And that's adding into a space that is not switching into a brand new course. And that's something that, becomes a little more nuanced when students get more adjusted to school and things like that. Freshmen don't necessarily have a whole lot of, elective space in their schedule because their first year is pretty prescribed, but that's just important. And then during the first 4 weeks of school, that's when we address level changes, okay? So if for whatever reason PSP isn't as challenging as maybe it needs to be, there's honors. Or on the flip side, if, honors math is all of a sudden like, whoa, wait a minute, I'm not quite there yet, those would be addressed in those first 4 weeks of school. And those are level changes, different from, obviously, class changes. And so, we do have a form that you'll have access to as far as the schedule change request, and that will come out. If you look, it says, for schedules will only be adjusted during the following schedule change periods. So when we look here, okay, the starting on, it says Tuesday, June 7th to Friday, June 10th, rising freshmen, oh my gosh, 2026, would be able to submit a written change via Google form and those kinds of things. So there is some flexibility, but it needs to go through that particular form. And now here's Mr. Parker, some athletics.
Sure. Okay, thank you. Thank you for coming this evening. Good evening. I greatly appreciate you taking a few minutes and to get up to date and informative, and even some returning high school families are here too, which hopefully this material is a good refresher for you. Much like co-curriculars and being a well-rounded student of this building and graduating, in a better place, athletics can be a huge part of that process, and we take a lot of pride in what we offer here for athletic opportunities for your son or daughter to represent Bedford High School in what they may love to do, whether it's arts here in the theater or on the football field or what have you. We provide a great opportunity for your sons or daughters to really experience a lot as a freshman, matriculate forward as a sophomore and junior, and then hopefully by their senior year, much like a lot of their academic classes, being able to provide a meaningful experience for them all 4 years, one they can be proud of and leave school and help hopefully carve what they are when they're graduating here years down the road. So athletically, actually what we opened today, if that QR code is there, and if you are a fall current 8th grade student athlete from Lurgio, you would have got an email from me today with a Google form. It's a very basic form. It asks for your son or daughter's name, their email, and what sport they plan to play this fall or aspire to play this fall. That information is really important. It takes about 10 seconds to fill out, but that helps us in my office with Ms. Berry, my secretary, as well as our fall coaches, start to be able to communicate directly to you specific information about summer conditioning, summer opportunities that are optional, and certainly our athletic tryout information. We average about a third of our students taking a part in a sport each season. About 483 played last fall, and so that is awesome that we have that many student athletes want to represent our teams. In some cases, though, that requires a tryout process through that, and so it's really important that you get the tryout information, the dates that we're showing up there, because they are before school starts. And much like a winter sport athlete or a spring sport athlete, to be a member of a high school sports team, we are asking a lot of you. It certainly falls outside a typical school day with Saturday practices and a lot of events happening over Christmas vacation week as well as February vacation, and certainly last week as well in April. As your son or daughter graduates forward from a freshman level team to a junior varsity level team to a varsity level team, those levels of commitment continually climb as well. So at our freshman level, we strive to, and it works out for a lot of our kids, that we don't necessarily have to cut at our freshman level, and we can give an opportunity to everyone who wants to be a part of it. As they get older, sometimes those tryouts become a little more competitive because the amount of spots available for those teams isn't necessarily as vast as they are for our freshman level kids. For student athletes in the room, whether you've been an athlete or not, I strongly encourage you to try something freshman year. If it's a fall sport opportunity and you are around this summer, take advantage, after you've signed up, take advantage of trying to come to some of our workouts. One, it's smart, it's fitness, it's a great way to get active, and you probably have more free time in the summer than you will during the school year anyways, so there's hopefully no excuse. But it's a really great opportunity for you to ingrain yourself not only with your current classmates who are coming as freshmen, but our sophomores, our juniors, our seniors, our coaches. And although we share a wall, it still is a new experience coming over from Lurgio to the high school. And you're going to be in a great place to be able to walk down the hallway and recognize 30 to 40 other individuals that you've been working out with all summer before cross-country season really begins in August. The other side of that is obviously from a fitness perspective. Naturally, we don't want anyone showing up for any tryout that hasn't been necessarily working out all summer. And so we're really fortunate with a lot of our coaches who donate a ton of time throughout the summer months to do those workouts so that kids are not only equipped to getting to know their coaches, but they're also in a situation where the kids are coming in physically fit for those opportunities as well. Having said that, and you'll hear this, and for upperclassmen siblings, I'm sure they'll moan and groan about it, but I think one thing we pride ourselves in a lot here is being a student athlete and making sure we are a student before we ever aspire to be an athlete. And so what we do from 7:55 to 2:35 will dictate what goes on after 2:35. And the privilege of being a member of theater, co-curriculars, band, any sports teams here at our school, you really got to show us what you're doing in the classroom first and making sure you're maximizing your opportunity and work ethic there before we focus on anything after that. And so for athletics, to Martha's point earlier, the NHIAA actually asks us, or we have to show them what a student athlete has performed in the previous quarter to be eligible for the second quarter. So for fall athletes in the room, you're clean. We don't start checking grades until after quarter one. So any grades, hopefully everyone's doing very well, but any grades currently for fourth quarter at Lurgio, those do not come into play. Where this is really important, and this is why we try to get ahead of who's signing up for what sports, is if you're just a winter athlete or just a spring athlete, you have to prove your academic qualifications in the preceding quarter to be eligible during that season. So how student athletes do quarter one will dictate who can try out for quarter two sports in the winter season. And again, that's one thing we try to stay ahead of. One, we're educators. We're not just athletic coaches. We need to make sure you're walking across a stage, in 4 Junes from now, more importantly than what you're doing on a Friday night on that same field. And so as an educator, we need to make sure we're striving to do our best academically. And if you do become a student athlete, you'll hear me talk about this a lot as well. Much like the counselors that we really encourage our students to go engage with and connect with, Mr. Gerard's office, my office, Ms. Noy's office, Ms. Pond's office, Ms. O'Hara's office, Ms. Chizoka's, we're all here to support you as a student. And so if we're struggling academically, we're going to have a conversation with you athletically to make sure we're managing our time well so that you can have best of both worlds. But the more important world will always be the academic world here in our building. And so when you join a team and you're successful enough to make a team, we monitor that pretty closely with bi-weekly grade checks that we engage with moms and dads when kids stub their toes to fix a small problem early September and not worry about it late October when now we've fell into a situation where we're NCY or we're not mathematically possible to pass a course. Again, no brainer. The nice thing about it, we utilize athletics because that can be a carrot sometimes for our student athletes to really make sure we're honing in on that. And the other aspect of that is obviously representing ourselves to the highest level when walking through the hallways. And so expectations about our language in the hallways, cell phone usage or non-cell phone usage in the classrooms. A lot of our coaches, we're very lucky, work in the building, teach in the building, and so they'll hold your son or daughter to a higher level of expectation because of that privilege of wanting to be a part of a team in that afternoon or that season. Again, there's a lot of questions that can come with athletics. Just please reach out to our office. It's right across the hall here for student athletes. We'll be coming over to Lurgio also to remind them to sign up with a couple of the captains of fall sports during lunches in the coming weeks as well. If your son or daughter is not sure if they want to play a fall sport, please just have them sign up. It's okay if they opt to not try out, but I want to make sure they get the information between now and the summer so that they can be at stuff, they can be aware of it, and obviously no information is missed for you and or your son or daughter at that time. That's really it. So thank you again for coming, and I believe Mr. Gerard's up for co-curriculars.
Anyone like chess? Badminton? Cars? Bees? We got it all. We got every club you can think of, all right, here at the high school. Anything that you can imagine, we have a club for. I just mentioned Save the Bees is one of my favorite clubs we have. Probably the most active club we have all over this building. For co-curriculars, it's a unique opportunity for you as students to either join or create one. All right, you can create your own club here. All right, if you have a unique interest and you find 5 or 6 other kids that have the same unique interest and we don't already have that club, you can propose it. All right, propose it to me. Fill out the form. Find an advisor. There's instructions on how to do it, all right, on the website. All right, but also what I try to tell kids is make sure that we don't have the club already. All right, because we don't want competing clubs. We don't want chess club and advanced chess club. All right, we don't want Save the Bees Club and Save More Bees Club. All right, we want to be as unique as we can. Right now we have, I don't think that's very accurate, to be honest with you, where it says 80. I think with all the proposals I received this year, I have to say we got to be either at 100 or over 100, all right, that happened here in this school. So if you can think of it, there's a pretty good chance we might already have the club, or you can propose it. If you walk by my office on the way out, it's the office right here in Bulldog Corner, you'll see on the wall in the black wire frame on the outside of my door, you'll see new club proposal form. All you've got to do as a student when you come in the fall, if you have a club that you want to propose, grab the form, all right, fill it out, get an advisor, and then you're going to come in and talk to me because I want to pick your brain. All right, I want to know, 1, why you're proposing this club, and 2, do we have one that's similar? All right, do I already have one that you can join and I can get you in the right direction to join? Good thing about co-curriculars is that they are a part of the real-world learning hours. All right, so you can get your real-world learning hours through the co-curricular activities. You don't just have to be a part of the theater, all right, or a part of athletics to get those. you can get them through being a part of the club, because there's a good chance that you're going to meet more than 8 hours in the year. You're going to get the 8+ hours that you need for your 9th grade year just being a part of the club. So if you have any questions on co-curriculars, there's a tab on the website that will give you a lot of information. It shows all of the clubs we currently have. We're trying to update it as frequently as we can, so you'll be able to see what we offer right there on the website. Summer up to you.
So I'm just going to talk about a couple of unique summer opportunities we have for freshmen. So these are particular, I should say, to rising freshmen. And Corey had mentioned athletics, and I know Martha said summer school if you fail a class, but we also have a class. I'm going to start with the enrichment course at the bottom. That is an enrichment course we talked about during registrations, but there is an opportunity for students to take in writing during the summer before their 9th grade year instead of during the 9th grade year. And so the place you would go to sign up for that and pay for that is on the, actually all of these are on the counseling website. So if you go to the BHS website on the counseling tab, you'll see on the left-hand side it will say summer opportunities, and information on all of this can be found there. So we have in writing, you can take in writing or in writing hybrid. The first in writing happens over 4 weeks, and it meets from 8 to 12. All of those 4 days a week, 3 days a week. I think it's 3 days a week. Those are all in person. It's really fast-paced. If you want to take that in writing, it is the same curriculum that students take over a semester. They're doing it in 4 weeks. And so there are 4 units, basically, of writing in the course. They're doing a unit a week. And they do have to be in class for all of those. But there's an opportunity to take that in the summer. Sometimes we'll get students who want to free up manage time. You heard a lot about that. If they have a lot of like honors classes in their schedule and they want to free up manage time so they can get more work done during the school day, sometimes those students will take in writing in the summer. Again, just remember it's fast-paced, so typically you have to be a pretty self-motivated student in order to do that. The other option we have is in writing hybrid. The pace is the same. It's also 4 weeks. They're doing a unit a week. The difference is the first week is in person. The following 3 weeks are remote. So you have to be here for the first week, and they go over everything you need to know in person, and then the following 3 weeks will be online. It is not synchronous, so there is not a specific time of day for the in-writing hybrid. What's important to know for that course is that you do have to have access to technology the entire time. There are things that are due every week, and so I get asked the question about summer camp. If we're going away and won't have access or accessibility to technology, I would not choose that one. It won't work. Okay, so I just want to let you know that because they won't be able to submit their work on time. But those are both enrichment courses that can happen this summer. And then the other opportunity we have at the top is 9th grade base camp, and that is really introduction to Bedford High School. And it's a cool opportunity for students. There are 2 different sessions. It's 2 days. It goes from 8:30 to 2:30, and it's really for students to get acclimated to what the high school is like before they show up on the first day of school in August. So they do, they'll work in little groups, and they'll go around the building and they'll do a scavenger hunt. And so they'll be able to find where things are all over the school. The things that students struggle to find, the teachers who run base camp know what those things are, and those kids are going to know where all of those things are before they show up. They have a lot of guest speakers come in. So we come in and we talk to them about our roles. They'll have our tech person potentially go in and talk to them. They will meet with whatever counselors happen to be in during that time. They go on a hike. You can see the pictures here that they do some, bonding with each other. It's very cool because they're here for 2 days, and we see those kids months later actually recognizing each other in the hall and saying, hey, I remember you from base camp. So a lot of students who come to that, actually, they have a little bit of anxiety about coming to high school, and they're a little bit nervous. They come to base camp, and it really does set a foundation and kind of ease them into high school so that they get the jitters out before the beginning of August. If you have any particular questions about that, Lisa Jacques, again, she couldn't be here tonight, but she's our director of counseling, and she can answer questions about that. But all of those opportunities are available on the website. Oh, wrong way. And intersection.
This is my final slide. Intercession. So we just wrapped up intercession. All right, intercession this year was an awesome experience, all right, for all kids. This intercession is very unique to us. We take, for those that don't know what it is, we take 2 days. In the past, it's been 3 days. This year, we had to fold it down to 2. But it's an experience like no other that we offer here in the school. All right, we literally will shut down our academic routine for 2 days and offer activities to kids, all right, that are unique, ones that will push their comfortable limits. All right, most of the time with these intercessions, when they're designed by advisors who have a unique interest, all right, in something, or have a unique interest in giving kids an opportunity in something that they've never done before. All right, so we have, each year we could have international trips. We could have groups of kids going to Italy, or going to France, or going to Spain. All right, there's activities happening here on campus. There could be an activity related. Every year there's an activity related to food. Look at me, one of my favorites. All right, related to food. Could be cupcakes. Could be anything, design, whatever it might be. A lot of activities can happen here on campus. Some go off campus for the day. Some may take a trip to, Fenway Park. Some might take a trip to New York City for an overnight, go to Broadway shows, experience that type of culture. All right, but the downfall to being a ninth grader in all of this is you are the lowest on the order. All right, which means seniors get to pick first, juniors, sophomores, all right, and then ninth graders. That doesn't mean that everything's shut out by the time a ninth grader goes to pick what they would like to do for intercession, all right, but it does give a little bit of hope if you don't get into something like, a New York City trip your ninth grade year, and you look really forward to that. You're like, I really want to go on that, I really want to go on that, and then 10th grade comes around, and there's an open slot when you sign up. There is your opportunity. So each year, they change too. Some will stay the same, but for the most part, advisors are changing it up each year. So you may see some different things pop up that might pique your interest each year. This starts in November. It's a year-long process, all right, for advisors when they're planning the trips, buses, housing if it's an away trip, costs, trying to figure out the financial part of it. All right, so it starts in November, all right, and then kids start to sign up through November, December. Then we start to meet, all right, here in school as intercessions, or go to classrooms and meet with the advisors, learn more about what's going to happen, learn about the guidelines, the behavior aspects of it, the responsibilities throughout that time. And then eventually, we have in April, the 2 days right before April vacation, we run our intercession. Not sure if it's going to change back to 3 next year, but it'll at least be 2. The other cool thing about intercession, just real quick, if you've ever been to the website, been to our school website, there's an intercession tab on there, all right, and it is everything you need to know about intercession. Right now, our tech person, Craig Shield, is in the process of loading in photos and videos from this year. So if you want to actually go see, the cool experiences that these kids are involved in, all right, it is going to be loaded, all right, full of photos and videos of the kids. So you can get kind of a sneak peek of what might be coming next year with some of the activities, and then some cool ones that'll be, coming in new and fresh next year. So check that out.
Thank you, Matt. I think this is my last slide. Here, I'll take the clicker. Thank you. So high school can be challenging. This is a list of where to go for help, but I just want to start by talking about me, actually. So I've seen 11 graduations go through this building, 11 graduating classes. And what I remind myself often, and when I first took the principal job, I said this to the school board, every student gets one shot at the high school career. So I have to do my best, my absolute best for every individual that's going to come through my school. Because I'm here, I kind of see things, and I'm around, so you can feel like I don't know. It's just a place to be. You're not necessarily critical about what you're doing, but I am, and we are, because your students and you students out there, you get one shot at everything you're going to do here, and I have to make it the best possible education that it can be for you. So you parents out there, watch this. How many of you are parents on my leadership team over there? Yep, all of us. And we have kids from preschool through college and after college. So we have, my son came through this school. So just realize I can take off my principal hat and I can put on my dad hat. And all these folks can do the same thing because I know you love your kids. I love my kids. And we just have to do our best for them. I just want you to know that. We gave you a lot of academics and a lot of stuff going on, but also there's a piece of care at Bedford High School. And I just want to promise you that we are going to do our best to make all that make sense and have a good experience here during their time. Let me just go back to this. Those are people you're going to want to know. Students in the building or in the room and parents. Your teacher, your advisor, the counselor. We've talked about these folks, but they are go-to people. Ask the questions, go for help, say, what does this mean? But all these people like us are here to help. Just realize that. All right, how to stay informed. These are places before you start in the school. The school handbook and the school website, as Matt was saying, are really good places to start. Go look at the document, go look at the website. There's a lot of information there. Once you are a student here and once you're parents that are high school parents, the weekly email I send out through Parent Square, that is the place to get information, so pay attention to that. There's a lot of information there, but I try to organize it in a systematic way so you can find what you need. There's teacher web pages. Obviously, that's helpful for the classroom stuff. Information nights, we televise them on BCTV, so if you miss it here, you can watch it there. We have social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Teacher emails, they also use Parent Square. And then lastly, we have student, parent, teacher conferences. That first word is the most important. I expect students to be at those conferences, just so you realize. You should be there, just like Kim was talking about. Those students who are going to lead those IEP meetings before they graduate, I want students involved right from the get-go, so go to those. All right, questions. We'll do general questions. If you have like really specific questions, we're going to stick around. You can come down and talk to us. But just any questions about anything you saw. And I'm going to throw this up there for now, just in case you want to see who we are. Yeah, what do you got? I'm going to repeat the questions, though. If you're interested in more than one sport, you fill it out more than once. And the answer was yes. Okay, let's keep going. Hands. Yeah, right back there. Sure. Who determines if level changes are needed during that level change period? So I'll start and then you can jump in. So it could be the student themselves. The student could come to the teacher, to a parent, and say, hey, this is not working. The parent could notice. The teacher might notice. But all of those folks, and then once one person wants to talk about that, the team has to talk a little bit. Because sometimes a student can feel overwhelmed and maybe want to drop down a level. But a conversation with the teacher will quickly, the student and the parent will realize, okay, this is doable. You just need to know what's coming and how it's going to come in the scope and sequence. Anything you want to add to that? But anyone can bring that up, and then the conversation is keyed about how to deal with it. Yes. Any other? Yeah, right here. Yep. So the question is, if you're taking a VLAX course right now as an 8th grader, you complete it. What's the steps so that you're not repeating geometry that you did at VLAX right here at the high school now? What do? Lisa's not here.
So you need to have VLAX send the official transcript to BHS. The course needs to be completed by August 15th. That allows us to make the changes in the schedule, so then the counselor will contact you and make changes in the schedule, and it will be accepted for high school credit. It has to be done by August 15th because that's when we're finalizing schedules and seeing what seats we have as students transfer in. And those courses are needed as the prerequisite for the next one. So in the geometry example, your child, excuse me, your child might be taking geometry on VLAX, and we made them sign up for geometry here, because if they didn't finish geometry on VLAX, it's a graduation requirement and they need to take it here. So that's that process.
Other questions? Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. And we're around if you want to come down and ask other questions.